So I'm going to read my 20 minutes of poems from the new book, To Cleave. And the book it's divided into 7 sections. I'm going to try to touch on each of those. There are a number of themes which include motherhood, aging, death, the usual things, and there's quite a large section about marriage in this book, about the challenges of marriage, the joys of marriage, the distances in marriage. It felt important to write those poems. So I'm going to start at the beginning. And this first poem is called Snow Cave. I grew up in New England with lots of snow. Snow Cave. There was the dream of a room, a glowing, a windowless cave in which a girl might live. The sun slung low. I was a burrowing creature, cap tied under my chin, cheeks their own hot planets. The sun hung low. It was 3, it was 4. Snow creaked beneath my knees, sweat at my neck, breath steamed. Before dark, before supper, before the call to come in, sun nudging its orange ball between my knees, half of me in on all fours, half of me out. A door, a roof coming true, and walls curving up, and I did not stop to think, am I happy? Did not pause to hear an odd bird. I'd have a house at dusk. I'd have a home before dark. Thank you. So this next poem is called Absence of Wind, and it includes a Hebrew word, ruach, which translates as breath of God or wind. Absence of wind. Windless dawn reties her sash. What has fallen remains fallen. What has splintered will not be sutured. Windless noon, tides recede. Nothing strewn, nothing stolen. A small room opens its door. One thought, 2 breaths. What does a body do, robbed of velocity? How does a throat, bereft of ruach, shape its plea? Night, star-becalmed and reluctant to speak, a cry shudders dark grasses, bone cracks between teeth. Give me the brow absent of doubt and need. Arms hung useless, sails collapsed. In the trees, no rustle and bough. In the field, no one flees, no disaster rising at sea. Ruach, what quavers the throat's dark coil and returns to it, song. Let fever lift, may the pond rest unriffled, may the blossoms be given one more day to be praised. Thank you. In the diner of a new day, there are 2 mornings on the menu. You can order the light fare or the lumberjack, with or without real time, with or without fresh squeezed conversation. The girl, holding her small pad, pen poised and eyes down, is familiar. And facing you in the booth is a self you knew to fail at courage. The slick, fingerprinted menu smeared with token wisdoms and bad breath lies open. And though you are ravenous from a night of knee-breaking hikes toward heaven, nothing describes a plate that will smell like the sack of clover and lavender you'd hoped for. Nowhere is the beverage that will coat the throat with a stream's tumbling. The morning of twin reckonings is yoked oxen pulling opposite directions, is the quandary every maker of lists and days faces, territory of chefs and sinners. You might plunge in, choose from morning A, morning B, the way God must have, thorn-studded, smooth-stalked, garrulous, silent, swimmers, walkers. Still, the shy waitress on the checkered linoleum waits at the foot of your unmade table, its shredded napkins, its salt and pepper lighthouses harboring an overcast day. You cannot, for the life of pie cases and today's specials embedded in black corrugated signboards, conjure an answer. You think it helps to believe a story. You think you might ask for the lunch menu, and the waitress is so patient. So I grew up in New England and spent time on the northern coast of Massachusetts every summer. And one of my beloved places was a place called Loblolly Cove. And this poem happens to be the first poem in the section of the book that is about marriage. Gulls of Loblolly Cove. Gulls of Loblolly Cove are beak to beak. No, beak in beak on kelp-clad rock. Late afternoon, and their hunger is not mornings for live catch dropped and split. Rather, it is bird lust I witness. How wide she had opened her sharp lips and shrieked for him. Now they beak wrestle, thrust and twist as if they had our tongues to tangle with. I missed the exact moment they released each other, but he flew first, east, then she, her polished yellow eyes wild with indecision, west. So this next poem is the poem from which the title To Cleave arose. It's called While She Slept, Her Husband Made Chai. To cleave, crack, splinter, stick fast to. Crushed cardamom, clove, peppercorn. It was for a purpose. Mortar and pestle, his wrist, scoop into black tea. Not a man of kitchens, he smashed black star tips. Late kitchen, dim kitchen, black kitchen, she'd blunder into walls while he slept. Chai steeped. Her hands held out as if it were her mother's spice brownies she wanted, mother and her spices on plastic spinners. All over the house, flies settled, little clove flies, star cow, cloven child. How soft night was. Clove darts into orange flesh, that pleasure. A whole language of the cloven, the cleaved. Thank you. So this is a poem I wrote after spending time at the George O'Keeffe Museum looking at a photograph that Alfred Stieglitz had taken of O'Keeffe's hands spread over a skull of a horse. Some of you may be familiar with it. Letter from Georgia O'Keeffe to Alfred Stieglitz on seeing his photograph of her hands. Be calm, Alfred. No, I am a plain woman. I rinse dishes, pull weeds, and unleash the dogs on dirt trails. I sleep in a narrow bed. I rise early. These are hands that mix paint, decipher sky. With these hands, I scratch my head at the improbable, I twist them under my breasts in sleep. Fisted against my stomach, they fly from my body in dream. Hands at the tips of wings, Alfred. How you splayed my fingers, insisted I caress the absent forelock, empty sockets, each stone molar, imagining the horse's rough tongue. I want nothing of death, Alfred, nothing of absence. These elegant hands cup seeds, cut back echinacea, snip herbs for the sauce. They tug knotted shirts from a basket, shake them into light, clamp them to the line with bleached pins. What can a man know of a woman's hands? This poem was inspired by several of my neighbors in Santa Fe. It's called The New Farmers. The New Farmers. In suburban backyards, past usual bark and holler, there is bleat and cluck. One of the new farmers bikes to work. One has given up meat. They suffer sore joints and burnt brows, refuse daily news, tune the radio to all music all day, read Dusty Whitman and Blake. And though covenants forbid a rooster, they invoke don't ask, don't tell, raise chickens behind latched gates, nudge eggs from fat females who puff and doze and make of morning a romance. One will go in, kiss his partner's grizzled cheek, whisk an omelet of chèvre and chives, slice sun-warmed tomatoes and bread kneaded in the dark. Long ago, they learned to tame the hip, curb the kiss, but this feast, eaten from Adirondack chairs facing sunrise, the misted hour, is a reprisal of an old hymn to a land they refuse not to love, country they dig their hands into despite a litany of signs it will return a spare and blemished harvest. So this is the poem that you posted on, I had to read it, on Facebook. This is a poem that was inspired by three different things. One was thinking about climate change. One was literally having moths eating lots of my clothes. And the other was thinking about all the things I've never taught my daughters. Reverie on the frayed world. Moths gnaw hung fabric as I sleep. Shaken into morning, the once tight-knit is chapel of collapsed glass, windows grilled with what thin fibers sag and sway. Open weave, unravel, give way. When my small daughter studied the roiled clouds and spied a snatch of blue at their center, she said, "God's room." Daily, I walk a reckoning with what prayer and poem can do. Break, realign, split. I never taught my daughters to mend, backstitch, hem. Is it too late to thread a needle, snip a patch, hum them toward how a world heals? Knot, repair, render whole. In the shop of scissors and patterns, I study tiered spools, lineated dawn to night, heaps of looped yarn, 100 heathered tones. I choose remnants to fill bitten space, address my daughter's awkward hands, consider, shrink, and give, leave extra thread. We steady the needle's eye, enter failed fiber, suture the impossible, exhale. So I don't know if you have bookstores here, like this bookstore that happens to be in Santa Fe that inspired this poem, but I have a feeling you've been to this kind of a store. Stranded in the New Age bookstore. In the hum of machine-softened air, copper bells fill space where negative energy might infiltrate. Birds perch in a fenced alcove, and walls are lined with texts of Tao and I Ching. The sign by the door says, "It's bad karma to steal." But I did. In the coffee shop were stacked flyers for classes conflicted with mine. So I write on the back because I have no paper. No surprise. My keys are locked in the car. I'm stranded in contemplation, my aura so tainted, pure souls who slouch in soft chairs and read, look up, and know I am in great need. But the salesgirl beams with goodwill. He'll be here soon, meaning not the Messiah, but my husband, whose day I'll be blamed for dismantling. On the counter, fairies hold glass orbs. I roll egg-shaped stones from the river in India the cashier can't name, though she tries to describe their power, balance, protection, peace of mind, he thinks, which surprisingly I feel, moving out into a mild winter day, staring down into my car where the star wand, purchased here by the man who is now lost, holds my keys. So 2 more. This is elegy for myself. I have given up on being beautiful, on debt and detriment to the ones I never loved enough. The food was only fair most days, the weather lacking, and the sex not what I anticipated. Goodbye, climate of contempt, culture of claws. I was not meant to live this long, never memorized the code or mastered the inflection. My thumbs not fast enough. Goodbye, tremble and blush. Spoiled pears, raw fish, keys and petrol, paint samples and drawers. Toss my crumpled pages, ink bleeds, there's no hereafter. Finito. Adieu, fury, thorns, books, half-eaten orange. Goodbye, my anthills, gold ring, socks. If there's another go-round, reconstitute me bold, less lonely. Sift me into the lake I love. And this is my last poem. Thank you for listening. This is Last Morning Blueberries. Knowing that these musty beauties are the last to ring in the pail, that rinsed in the dented colander and sorted, will tumble into the white bowl. You will decide cream or not, sugar or not, and on which back step to settle in sun or shade. You will talk to the dog kindly, glimpse the goldfinch, lift the spoon, your teeth breaking into such bitter, such sweet. Thank you.